We went to first service at First Christian this morning, and everybody's asked me, said, "You got your preaching clothes on?" I said, "Are you preaching today?" "Yeah, but not here." And we heard a good message there, and then come here and see if maybe I can pass a good message on to you guys. A while back, I wrote this sermon, and what kind of was my inspiration for it was the super moon. You know, whenever they have a super moon in the wintertime, it's whenever the moon is as close to the earth as it's ever going to be, and the sun reflects off of the moon and shows such a great big huge bright light to us. And thinking about that kind of reminds me of our lives. You know, the moon doesn't generate any light itself. The moon is just big and dark. It's always there. But without the sun, the moon doesn't have any light. And that's kind of the way we are in our lives. If we don't have the sun, the S-O-N sun, not the S-U-N sun, we don't have any light. And there isn't any light in our life. So that was kind of the inspiration for my sermon for today. And I'm going to kind of explain myself as we go through this. I'm going to start off in the book of John, chapter 1, verses 1 through 5. It says, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. And He was in the beginning with God. All things came into being through Him. And apart from Him, nothing came into being that has come into being. In Him was life, and the life was the light of men. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness did not comprehend it." Now, I like the book of John because John uses simple words to explain himself. In the first 3 verses there, John took a bunch of simple words and put them together and made kind of a complicated message out of it, actually, to try to interpret. The way I look at it is the Word is Jesus Christ. The Word was with God in the beginning. The Word was with God whenever the world began, whenever everything was created. There was the Word, there was God, and there was the Holy Spirit. Jesus has always been here. He'll always be here. In verses 4, "In Him was life, and the life was the light of men." Now, in my opinion, and I'm going to go ahead and read 5 too and put these both together. "The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness did not comprehend it." With Jesus being born into the world, He opened up what the prophets had talked about in the Old Testament. He opened up His Word to us in a way that we can understand. Jesus brought light into a dark world. Light is defined as a natural agent that stimulates sight. Without light, you can't see. Without Christ, you don't see. If light shines in the darkness, I'm going to read 5 again. "The light shines in the darkness, but the darkness did not comprehend it." Now, as I was studying for this sermon, I begin to look at things a little differently about light and darkness. I've always been of the opinion, and I kind of still struggle back and forth with my thoughts on this. I always was of the opinion that you can't have light and darkness in the same spot. And I've got some different theories of thought in my own mind on this. You can have a totally dark room and light a little bit of match, and that room isn't dark anymore. The light takes away the darkness. But in thinking differently in preparation for this sermon is having me, I'm a Christian and I have the light of Christ in my life. I can also have someone standing next to me as close as they can get that doesn't have Christ in their life and have light and darkness both in the same place at exactly the same time. And that's an either-or thing. You either do have Christ in your life and you know what the light is, or you don't have Christ in your life and you're in the darkness. That's one or the other. It's not both at the same time. But in my opinion, darkness and light can both exist in the same place at the same time, just not exactly the same place. I don't know if that cleared things up for you guys any. It confuses me, but we're not supposed to know all the answers. I'm going to move on to John chapter 12, verses 34 through 36. And it says here, the crowd then answered him, and we have heard out of the law that the Christ is to remain forever. And how can you say the Son of Man must be lifted up? Who is this Son of Man? So Jesus said to them, for a little while longer the light is among you. Walk while you have the light, so that the darkness will not overtake you. He who walks in the darkness does not know where he goes. While you have the light, believe in the light, so that you may become sons of the light. These things Jesus spoke, and he went away and hid himself from them. He opens our eyes so we can see the light. Who is this Son of Man that'll be lifted up? I thought Christ was going to be with us forever, was their question in 34. I thought once he came to earth, he was going to be here forever, and you're telling us he's going to be lifted up. And in their terms, lifted up means put on a cross and hung and crucified. That's what lifted up meant. So they knew if he was going to be crucified, he was going to be dead and he was going to be gone. But they didn't know that 3 days later he was going to be born again, raised from the grave, to be with us forever and ever. He asked them to walk with him a little bit longer. Some of us need to walk with him a little bit longer to see the light, to stay in the light. He wants us to walk with him and talk with him. He wants us to hear his words. He wants us to spend time with him. You have to believe in the light to see the light. You have to believe in the light to have the light shine from you. Christ's light shine through you. Like the sun reflects off of the moon, Christ's light shines off of us. In John 12, 44 through 47, it says, "And Jesus cried out and said, He who believes in me does not believe in me, but him who sent me. He who sees me sees the one who sent me. I have come as light into the world, so that everyone who believes in me will not remain in darkness. If anyone hears my sayings and does not keep them, I do not judge him. For I did not come to judge the world, but to save the world." Now I heard just a few words of what Brian said during Sunday school today, and what it says right there in 47 were the words that you said. Jesus didn't come into the world to judge the world. He came into the world to save the world. He came into the world to be the light of the world, to lead them to God and to lead them to an everlasting life. Jesus didn't come to judge the world, and we shouldn't either. Now, while I was thinking about this sermon, I was thinking about another one to do, kind of, and which one to do, and I'm going to put a little bit of the other one I was thinking about, and you might hear it another day sometime. But Jesus put sheep and goats both on the earth. He put them on the earth to intermingle together. And one of these days, there's going to be a separation of the two. The sheep are going to go one way, and the goats are going to go the other. We're not the ones that are going to do that. We're not going to be the shepherds that divide the way then. And we shouldn't divide that way today. Because some of us, at one time, look a whole lot more like a goat than we do a sheep. And I'll put my hand up in the air on that. There were some years back that if you'd have been picking which batch I was going to be in, I'd look more like an old stinking billy goat than I do like an old ram today. Let's remember that. It's not our job to sort. Just be the light. Be the light to the world. And if we're going to be the light to the world, we need to know where the power comes from that furnishes our light. And I'm going to go to Acts chapter 1, verses 6 through 8. And it says, "So when they had come together, they were asking him, saying, Lord, is it at this time you are restoring the kingdom to Israel? And he said to them, It is not for you to know the times or the epochs which the Father has fixed by his own authority, but you will receive power when the Holy Spirit has come upon you. And you shall by my witness both in Jerusalem and Judea and Samaria, and even to the ends of the earth." We need to know where the power for our light comes from. Our power comes from the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit fills us and gives us the power of the light of Jesus Christ, the power of the Lord. And we need to show that light to a lost world. Here a month ago, we had let me get this all in here, we had a super wolf blood moon. I don't know if any of you guys went out and saw the super wolf blood moon or the super blood wolf moon, whatever it was called, but it was last month. Yeah. And it was a super moon because it was in the wintertime when the moon is closest to the earth. It was a wolf moon because supposedly the wolf moon is the first full moon of the new year. So it was in January, it's the first full moon of the new year. There was an eclipse of the Earth's shadow going across the moon. And that made it the super wolf blood moon. Okay? Now, I'm interested in that stuff a little bit. Not enough to have a big old telescope and be an astronomer and take pictures of it and everything, but something different like that, I want to go see it. I want to watch it. So, took the dog out to go to the bathroom about 9 o'clock, and it was just starting to cover the moon just a little bit. The moon, was like this. Well, that's not so much. We went back out about 9:30, and it was about half. We went about 10 o'clock, and it was a little about more than half, about 3/4, and I got to noticing something. as the shadow of the earth was covering the moon, there was less and less of the moon that showed. But what showed got to be brighter and brighter and brighter as it was being covered up. Now, in my opinion, we're in a world today that the shadow of the earth is trying its best to cover Christ. And there's still the light that shines. There's the light of Christ that shines. As the shadow of the world that we grow up in and we've grown up in and we live in becomes darker and darker and darker, it's more important that Christ's light shines brighter and brighter through us. We need to be steady and firm in our belief in Christ. We need to let His light show through us to a lost world to help someone that's a goat today become a sheep tomorrow. Now, we can't do that. We don't have the power. Jesus Christ has the power. We just got to sow the seed. And we gotta let God's blessings show through us to someone who desperately needs it. It's not always easy. Sometimes we're traveling through life and the sun's light shines bright through us. And we look like a full super moon shining. There's some days when the world overshadows our moon. And it makes it tough to go through the day. Gary talked about it at First Christian today. Not every day as a Christian is an easy day to follow God. And He'll be there with you and He'll bring you through that struggle. And there's some days whenever the darkness of the world almost blots out our light completely. To shine through Christ. But keep going. Keep going. Make it on through those days. Let the power of the moon shine through. The power of God shine through. Now I want you to think about something. I'm going to close with this. You look up at the moon. On the full moon, you see the whole thing. On the half moon, you just see half of it. Just half of it shown by the light of the sun. On the dark of the moon, you can't see it at all. But you know what? It's still there. It's still there. Even in a dark world, whenever you don't see the light of the moon, you don't see the light of God, it's still there. God is always there. Jesus Christ is always there. No matter how dark everything gets, God is always there and He'll always be there for you. I'm going to close with just let God's light shine through you. I hope you guys got a little bit of something out of what I had to say today. And God bless you.